What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Drew Code Sports Talk. I am your host, Cody Johnson, and over in the opposite screen is the handsome man himself, Andrew Wright, returning from his scholarly adventures. We have ourselves a new college graduate. Everybody give it up for Drew. Drew, man, it's been a minute. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Been doing good, man. Finally, school is over with, and I'm still working, but the basketball has slowed down now, and I graduated from college with an AA, so gonna be moving up to Fresno State. So go Dogs! So I'm getting excited.
Right on. And then we've got Corey and Austin from the Shovik Sports are saying congrats, Drew. Thank you guys for jumping on the live. So Drew, let the people know what's been going on, man. It's been a bit of a hiatus for you. And so I know that I know what's been going on, but it's been a minute. So do you want to share with how coaching is going and what the next step for school for you looks like?
Yeah. So, well, it's been a lot of, obviously I've been coaching girls basketball all year long. And we had, right after the season, we had like 2 weeks off, and then it was right back to it. We were in AAU. I got the privilege to coach the 5th grade AAU team, girls basketball team. And my daughter actually ended up playing for that team as well. And we got a bunch of girls together who had never played before with each other. Not that they hadn't played basketball, but hadn't played with each other. Mm-hmm. And had to create a team. And it took a little while. Practices sometimes were pretty rough, but towards the end, they started understanding the offenses. We're trying to teach them the way that we coach the varsity and JV and freshman teams. And they came out, and we went to Reno this past weekend, which was our final end of the year AAU trip. And our goal was we wanted to win one game. In Reno. That was the key. During all these tournaments, we hadn't been winning. We got really close on a couple of them and just came up short. Finally got to Reno, lost the first 2 games against teams who were really, really good. They were obviously had been playing with each other for a while. One team was a sandbagger. I'm going to say it. I was so mad at that team. I'm still mad at that.
Every time I tell it if you weren't, so yeah.
Yeah. I'm still mad at that team, but I'm not going to go into it. But anyway, and then we had a 3rd game, which was on Sunday, and it was Sunday night. Our game was at 5:45. We only had one game that day. So I was kind of getting a little nervous that we were going to have all day, that everyone was going to go out and eat and, do whatever, which would be fine. But, we might come out a little sluggish. And I just told the girls, I said, listen, don't let them intimidate you. Essentially, just be really aggressive. If you have to use elbows, use your elbows. If you gotta get in someone's face, if you gotta make them mad, make them mad. And that's exactly what they did. And we pulled out the win. So that was a really cool way to kind of end the tournament. Finally getting a win against a team who actually beat a team that we lost to. So that was really cool too. So it was kind of a nice way to end our AAU season. And I know you saw the videos, but my daughter, she got to the free throw line, hit both of her free throws.
Yep.
Which was really cool. Got to see her play defense. Got to see her play offense. Kind of step up almost as somewhat of a leader and really come out of her shell. So it was really cool as a dad and as a coach, and getting to know all these girls. It was really, really cool. We had a fun time. We had a team bonding night on Saturday night where we went, because we stayed in Circus in Reno. And so they have an arcade in the middle. And so we thought it was going to be like an hour and a half maybe. And we ended up being there for like 3 hours, and we were like, shoot, we got to go to bed. Like, I'm tired. So that was really, really cool. We had a great time, and like I said, it was really cool to end kind of with a win, and those girls are like already talking about next year, which is really great because that's what we wanted. We want these girls to keep playing with each other for a long time, so that way, when they get up to the high school ranks, they're going to be that much better.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. And actually, so when we were at your graduating ceremony, I sat next to Nods and I go, "Hey, dude, listen, I know that you've got a crazy tournament this weekend, but I'm gonna need you to drop 100 every time you get that ball. You're pulling up. I don't care where you're at. You just step back 3, leave it in the air." And then she left. She goes, "My dad wouldn't let me." And I was like, "Don't worry about your dad. Just say Uncle said to do so, and he'll whine about it. But I got you. Don't worry about it."
She tattled on you because we were in the car.
I know she narked on me hard.
She already was like, Uncle Cody said that he wants me to score 100, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So I didn't know that it was supposed to be a secret. So she ratted you out real quick.
Well, it wasn't that bad of a secret because I was right next to Jess, and I go, "Jess, listen up. We need Nods to score 100 or whatever." And then, you're obviously Nadia was like really coming to your defense, like, "No, my dad won't let me do that. I'm not allowed to do that." And it's like, "Don't worry about your dad. Just do what I say." And
she's lying. I would let her. If she was going to score 100, I would let her score 100.
You must be a different person during practice then.
You know what? It's funny because we were in one of our games, we were down by quite a bit, and so she had a couple of open shots, and so I call a timeout, and I was like, "Hey, if you're open, just shoot the ball." And so it happened again where she was kind of like out on the wing. She gets a pass, she's wide open. I just say shoot it, and she shot 2 threes. She didn't make them, but I told her I was very happy that she shot them because I want them to get confident in their shooting. I want them to be like, understand if you're open, just take the shot. Don't even think about it. Yeah. So and she did. So that was Nadia from the beginning of AAU would not have shot that. Nadia at the end of AAU, she shot it. So I was happy.
Well, good. And now we need to get that shot working so that way she can pull up from the parking lot. So,
yep.
All right, guys, we're going to dive into the show. We've got NBA playoffs to talk about. We've got MLB to talk about, especially our Giants. Haven't really talked about the Giants since Drew's been doing his scholastic responsibilities. And then hopefully if there's enough time, we're going to talk about some Raiders offseason stuff, which I'm excited about because Drew, I know that we haven't done Drew Code. We've kind of, we do a Marco Polos and kind of go over it, but this is actually our first episode we get to do where we kind of get to dive into it, at least if we can get through the whole show and get to it, hopefully. But before we kick things off, guys, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and don't forget to follow us on social media. Drew Code Sports Talk is where you can find all of the social medias. So, Drew, obviously, earlier this week, OKC punched their ticket to be the Western Conference representatives for the NBA championship finals. Of course, the Pacers and the Knicks are playing right now as we're recording. Knicks are up. They might win. Who knows if they keep the lead or below it. So I'm curious, though, with OKC obviously beating the Timberwolves the way that they did in 5, as dominating as it was. Do you think OKC are the favorites to win the NBA Finals?
I kind of do because, I mean, I just feel like it's like I really like the Knicks team. And I think the Pacers have been kind of a surprise in the playoffs, in my opinion. Like I figured they would win their first round and maybe the second round, but the way they've been dominating the Knicks has kind of surprised me, if I'm being honest. Right now, the Knicks, of course, are up by 18 with 5 minutes to go. But I just I look at matchups. Jalen Brunson, he's not going to. I mean, they'll probably put Josh Hart on SGA, but then who covers Holmgren, who covers Jalen Williams. I mean, there's a lot of mismatches, and as much as I actually am really rooting for the Knicks because I feel like the Pacers have always been a good team. It never seems like they're just like completely out of it. And like you have a team with Siakam, Halliburton, the way he's been playing, and then I've always liked Miles Turner.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're always going to be at least in the mix. And with the Knicks, they've been bad for so long that it's finally like, okay, great. Now we have the New York Knicks in the mix of the playoffs and possibly even in the NBA Finals.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really want to see the Knicks win, but if you look at it, they don't match up well. And honestly, the Pacers are probably the team that matches up the best with OKC because Miles Turner could probably handle Holmgren pretty good,
Mm-hmm.
but Halliburton, you wouldn't put him on Williams, but you'd probably put like, man, I don't know. You might have to put. You might have to start Obi Toppin if I'm being honest. You might have to start
Mm-hmm.
him, kind of put him on him, but I don't think he slows Jalen Williams down that much.
Yeah.
And then you know, I think Halliburton could kind of hold his own, or Siakam. Definitely Siakam actually would probably be better on Williams. And then, you know, Halliburton would probably have to cover SGA, or maybe Naismith would cover SGA. But I think the Pacers match up better, but honestly, I don't see the OKC slowing down. They've pretty
Mm-hmm.
much gone through these playoffs. I don't want to say unscathed because the Denver round was pretty tough.
Yeah.
But after they came out of that, they just seemed like a completely different team. And I just don't see the Pacers or the Knicks slowing them down. So I think it's theirs to win or to lose.
Yeah. Shout out to Jason Colenso from 3 from Deep. He says, go Knicks. Man, I hope they hold on. 16-point lead, 3.5 to go. So we'll see. Thanks, Jason, for joining us. But I think from my opinion with OKC, what I saw in the series with the Timberwolves, and I even said this on a episode with Jason, ironically, which was I actually thought that OKC was going to get really tested by the Timberwolves because I thought the Timberwolves in the series that they had with the Lakers, and I'm forgetting who the team that they played in the previous round of that. I thought that they were going to be a physical matchup and they were really going to beat up on the Thunder. And I didn't think the Thunder physically were going to be able to keep up with the Timberwolves. And in fact, not only was the Thunder able to keep up with the physicality, they were actually dishing it out. And it looked like the physicality from the Thunder was making the Timberwolves not want to play basketball anymore, from at least what I saw. You know, Anthony Edwards did not have the greatest showing in the last 2 games. And, you know, attribute that to the defense because you had a bunch of guys and, you know, Alex Caruso being one of those defensive anchors for the Thunder that was, you know, getting loose balls, stealing. Jalen Williams with his length was causing a lot of problems for the Timberwolves. Timberwolves unable to really shoot from distance. And that was kind of like the last 2 series they were able to do. But, you know, I look at a team like the Pacers, if they do move on from the Knicks, I think the Pacers match up lengthwise better. But I also think in the same realm that you do, Drew, which is I think the Thunder are probably the favorites in general between either the Knicks or the Pacers. And it's not because either team isn't good enough. I think the Thunder are just kind of that much better of a team with Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso, Chet Holmgren, you know, SGA having one of the better seasons. And I know some people will argue that Nikola Jokic should have been the MVP, but SGA with his team got past them and are about to advance into the final or have advanced into the finals and have a legit shot of winning the championship almost unscathed. I think the Pacers come close to being able to rival, like maybe push them to 6 or 7 games. The Knicks, I think what makes it tough is outside of Jalen Brunson, they really don't have a spark plug for scoring. And Cat is so much of an outside shooter, and the Knicks sometimes fall in love with the 3 too much that they shoot themselves out of rhythm. And they play such physical defense, but I just don't know if the Knicks could match up like what you said with the Thunder. Maybe they keep up physically, but I don't know how much length they have. I feel like Cat would have a hard time going against Chet or any of the other centers that OKC have. And I mean, on paper, whoever the Thunder face, their Thunder automatically favorites, in my opinion.
Yeah, and to kind of go on to your point, what you were talking about with SGA, SGA is having like an all-time season. I mean, this guy has been consistently, he's averaging what, like, I believe 28 points a game all season long. And it's not because he had these games where he went for, 42, and then all of a sudden he had these games where he only went for like 17. He's consistently getting like 28 a game. Whereas Anthony Edwards was like, he was a guy who he would get like 38 points a game. And then all of a sudden he kind of dropped down to, 17 points a game. And that's kind of what we saw towards the end of this playoffs where, exactly what Jason said here as you pulled it up, Edwards' star power took a hit in this series because he shrunk and the Wolves really hurt because of it. And I completely agree with Jason on that point because it hasn't been consistent still. That's why we're having discussion of like, okay, maybe Anthony Edwards isn't going to be the face of the league. Well, he's going to have to get more consistent, and I think he knows that. I'm not saying anything that he doesn't already know himself, but the consistency is what hurt Anthony Edwards, and the consistency is what is going to propel the Oklahoma City Thunder to a championship because SGA has been by far the most consistent player all year long. And this guy is consistently just making plays for his team, scoring when they need him to, making the right passes. He's not a liability defensively. He is an all-around great. He's just having an all-time great year. Maybe we don't see that next year, but just talking about this year in general, SGA has had the best year overall, and it's rare to see the best player this year win also the NBA Finals. Obviously, minus Jokic. What was it, last year or 2 years ago? So, but I think SGA has been great all year, and so this is. With the Nuggets being out, this helps the Thunder so much.
Yeah. And Jason coming back here saying that Joker averaged a 29 triple-double, led in scoring SGA. Yes, but hold on, Jason. Whose team went on to the finals? It's not Jokic's Nuggets. That's my point. And I was saying that SGA, I thought, was the MVP because of what he was doing on the Thunder with how competitive that they've been. But shout out to Jason for being in the comments. And also Shovik Sports basically just confirming what we were just saying, Drew, with OKC by far easy champs, no matter who they play. Very valid point, pretty much like what we were saying. Regular season award. And that's why it was given after the series was over. So, yeah. All right, Drew, let's move on. Let's move on a little bit to, I do want to touch base on the Pacers and the Knicks a little bit. It looks like we're almost done with the game. Knicks are holding on the lead. We'll just assume as we're recording, as we're live right now on YouTube, that the Pacers are going to have to head back to Indiana with the Knicks and go for game 6. Who do you think ekes out this series? Do you think the Pacers hold on, or do you think the Knicks come back from a 3-1 deficit?
This is a tough one. It's going back to Indiana next game. I really want the Knicks to win because I'd like to see them in the NBA Finals. But the better matchup would be the Pacers and the Thunder. I think the Pacers match up better, as we talked about. And I just think that the Pacers, the way they've been going, has been great. Not seeing how this game has played out, it's kind of hard for me to say like where the momentum is going. It could just have been like the Knicks day. So maybe, I know Jason is already on our comments, so maybe you can help me out with that a little bit more there, Jason. But I just feel like right now the momentum is towards the Pacers, and Halliburton had an awful day today. He only scored 8 points so far, I guess. Pascal Siakam 15, Miles Turner only contributing 5 points. Like, yeah, you're not going to win. So yeah. I just feel like the momentum is still on the Pacers side. I think those are just like all-time bad days. Yeah, I mean, I'm rooting for the Knicks, but I just see the Pacers playing. It's an easier route for the Pacers, and they have guys who match up with the Knicks just fine, and they have guys who match up with the Thunder way better.
Yeah, I think the Knicks are going to end up winning. The Pacers pulled all their starters right now. It's basically garbage time right now for the backups for the Pacers. And yeah, just to echo your point, they shot less than 40% from the field and then only 30% from 3-point. They had 19 turnovers and they only had 32 points in the paint compared to the Knicks 58 points in the paint as of right now. So yeah, the Pacers weren't going to win this game. Although I feel like nowadays with some of the NBA playoff series is if you have a closeout game back on your home court, and if you lose a game in the series and it's not going to tie the series or it's not going to really lose any momentum, it's kind of like you take an off day, but you just play the game so that way you can take it back home and then share a victory on your home court. I feel like that's what this is kind of gearing up to where Indiana is going to come out either red hot or it's going to be a drag out game. And I picked the Knicks in 7, but looking at how the Pacers are, they can shoot the ball really well and they're never too far from a lead. But the same goes for the Knicks though, because the Knicks, I believe it was game 3, down by at least 20 at one point, and they stormed back and they took over that game and they stole one. I believe it was in Indiana, if I'm not mistaken. So this series, if it goes back to Indiana, obviously favors the Pacers, but I picked the Knicks in 7. They need to steal another one in Indiana since they dropped 2 in New York. So they really need to go on the road and have a victory there. And we'll see. Like, I think what makes it tough is I can assume the NBA would want the Knicks in the finals because it's a big market team. But now with the Indiana Pacers and potentially the Oklahoma City Thunder meeting in the NBA Finals, 2 small market teams that have just did really good drafts, smart with their assets in terms of trading and drafting, now making it to the biggest championship round in basketball and not an LA team, not a Chicago team, not a, whatever big market team is. I think that's something the NBA is probably got to look at and say, okay, is this NBA Finals attractive? And now what can we do to make it attractive? Because I don't know how many people are going to be looking forward to Oklahoma City and Indiana outside of NBA fans. It's not like it's the Lakers or Boston. It's not like it's the New York Knicks or Brooklyn or, whatever big team, not even Golden State. It's, these are 2 relatively quiet teams in small markets that are going to be on the grandest stage in the terms of the NBA. And I just think it's going to be very interesting when whoever meets in the finals is going to be interesting, and I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. So,
final, it's the Knicks win 111-94.
Okay, there we go.
So,
and then Jason here with his Knicks analysis. If the Knicks control the turnover, stop the stupid fouls, slow down the game, they can win Indy. Very true, but the one thing about Indy showed is they can shoot the ball. So
yeah, Jason, no, I wanted to know how the game looked, not where did the momentum go to New York. You didn't answer my question. No, you know what? 2 numbers that and then I'm done. That kind of stuck out to me. The first number is 3-point percentage. Indiana took 1 more 3 than the Knicks and shot 33.3% from 3. The Knicks shot 27.6. That tells me that Indiana, even though didn't have a great shooting night, they still are shooting the 3 better, and they still, in a sense, were in the game for a long time, and they were getting their butts kicked because you said they turned the ball over 19 times. The other number that really sticks out to me, points conceded off of turnovers. The Pacers only allowed 13 points off of their 19 turnovers. That's a crucial number because if you look at the Knicks, they had 15 total turnovers. They allowed 20 points off of turnovers. So that tells me Indiana is turning the ball over, but then they're getting right back on defense and they're not allowing them easy shots or easy buckets. So to me, that's why Indiana is going to win this series if those numbers stay like that.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I picked the Knicks in 7. We'll see how it looks like when they go back to Indiana.
You still have a chance.
I still have a chance. We're still in it. All right, let's move on to our next topic. We're going to talk about Giannis. So earlier this playoff series, I think it's the Pacers, ironically enough, eliminated the Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, no Dame Lillard. Milwaukee, they look like a shell of themselves. I know that there's been a ton of questions about if Giannis is going to request a trade. Should he leave? So, Drew, we're going to play long shot, realistic. So we're going to talk about where we think Giannis is going to go as a long shot, where we hope he goes, and then realistically where he goes. So I'm going to give you the floor. I want you to give me all three, and then I'll respond with my three. So where do you see Giannis going for your hope, long shot, and realistic landing spot?
First of all, Jason, yes, thank you. This is what I wanted right there. This is exactly what I wanted. He said Knicks played ahead, did not allow Indy to run back into the game. Yes, momentum is back to the Knicks. I feel like that could be fine. That could be the fandom that he's talking about, but
yeah, no,
but I appreciate him answering it. Thank you.
Yeah,
Jason.
when they lost, I can't remember what game it was. I'm surprised he didn't curse on his show, because I know that he'd have been in big trouble. But yeah, he was red hot on that show.
Okay, so I'm not going to say the Lakers on this list at all, because of course I want the Lakers to go after Giannis. Like, why would I not? And sorry, you can probably hear my son roaring right now. That's he's watching his dinosaur videos. Anyway, so I'm not going to say the Lakers on this, because I think that's just like a cop out for me. So first of all, who do I hope Giannis goes to? Obviously Lakers are number one, but a number two team that I actually think would be really, really, really interesting is the Golden State Warriors. I think there's still a chance that the Warriors, now they're going to have to get, it's going to have to be a 3-team, maybe even a 4-team trade to get Giannis, because I don't think they have enough assets just themselves to get that done. But I do think Giannis would fit perfectly with the Golden State Warriors. The selfish play, the selfless, excuse me, I said selfish, selfless play by the Warriors with Steph Curry, with Draymond Green, and then you add Giannis, who not only is a scoring option, but he is a guy who is willing to play defense. I think this is a really, really big chance for the Golden State Warriors to go out to send Steph Curry off into the sunset. And now you have Giannis, who could potentially be your star once Curry is gone. And I think that would be a really, really interesting fit. I don't know how likely it is, but it is something that I do hope. If the Lakers don't get him, I would really like to see him in Golden State, because, God, it would just be great to see Golden State the villain again. Because I feel like too many people like Steph Curry, and I feel like they were better when they were the villain. And so
but that was because KD was on the team. It wasn't because of Steph.
I know. That's what I'm saying. And Giannis,
okay.
Giannis just going like, well, fine, I'm just going to go to a winning team. They're going to be like, oh, my God, the freaking Warriors got KD, and now they're getting Giannis. This is bull. That's kind of what I would hope for. So that's my hope team. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, go to the last two, and I'll do my three when you're done.
The long shot team that Giannis could go to, for me, I believe, is the Knicks. I think with the trade that they had with Mikal Bridges really hurt them, because they gave a lot away for Bridges. Now, was it the right move? Obviously, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, so it was a good move. But for a Giannis, to get Giannis, that could hurt them, is what I mean. So I'm not saying it's a bad move, but now I'm saying I as much as I think it would be interesting and they would want to give Cat away as fast as possible, I don't see the other assets that they could give away. And maybe I don't know for sure, but I just think with what they gave away from Mikal Bridges, I think it kind of takes them out. But I do think the Knicks still have a shot, because I can see the way they could get there. It would have to be a 3-team trade again. It would have to obviously involve Cat, and probably, honestly, it might have to involve Bridges as well. And then you could probably get the teams to talk. But I think they're a long shot, but I do think they have a shot, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then the realistic landing spot for Giannis, this one's tough. I would actually, so Jason put San Antonio. I don't think that's realistic at all. I don't think he wants to go with Victor Wembanyama unless they want to get rid of Victor Wembanyama, which they don't. I don't think that's actually realistic. I don't think San Antonio. I mean, I guess in a way you could see it, like, because you can say, oh, Victor's constantly getting hurt, but I don't know. I don't see it. Honestly, a realistic option in my mind, I could really see him go to the Miami Heat. I think the Miami Heat are a team. You could add Bam into that. You could add Tyler Hero for that if you wanted to. But I think that's a realistic possibility because I think Miami is such an attractive place for NBA free agents or guys who want to be traded, and they have such a championship pedigree that I just think that the realistic possibility of Giannis going to Miami is I think it's the highest out of most teams. Again, I would have put Lakers on all of these.
Yeah.
but I, for the sake of the show, I would have to go with Miami Heat.
All right. So I like that. I think for my hope, of course, I'm going to be a bandwagon fandom here. I'm going to say the Lakers for me. I hope that there's some way, if that includes giving up Austin Reeves, go for it. If that means we have to give up Rory Hushiama, like, go ahead, because I think Giannis with Luka and LeBron, I think those three, you can sign players off the street, and with whatever unit they build around Giannis, Luka, and LeBron, it's an automatic playoff team, and then who knows what they can be, because ironically enough, even though Luka and LeBron were ball dominant, they were able to play well together, and having a big that could go down low or even stretch a little bit or even help bring the ball up the floor, like when they had AD, who did it when he was with LeBron. I feel like that's a nice little way to get a little bit of a different offense, and you have somewhat of a guy that can get a rebound if you can. So that would be my hope. My long shot would actually be Golden State. I think the only way for Giannis to get to Golden State is if Draymond Green is a part of a deal that gets shipped somewhere. I don't see how, with Draymond Green's contract, with Steph Curry's contract, with Jimmy Butler's contract, and now you add Giannis's contract, I don't know how any way in the world that you get those 4 mega contracts to work. So
can I make an argument on, if I'm being perfectly honest, who's going to want Draymond Green? The only team that he really benefits is the Warriors, and I think everyone in the NBA understand that. So if you're getting Draymond Green, know that you're not getting Draymond Green of Golden State. You're getting Draymond Green, who's however old, 36 or something.
I think teams would, depending on the team, and I think like Detroit, for example, Detroit Pistons would be a team I think would be willing to trade for a Draymond, because they're going to want a championship pedigree. They're going to want tough defense, because yes, you're right. Draymond Green flourishes in Golden State because of how that team is formed, and he is one of the core pieces of how it all works. However, I think if you take his championship experience and his defense and you take him over to Detroit, I don't know if they're a contender or not, but I think that would attract Detroit to maybe give a couple of young assets or cheaper contracts, so that way Draymond Green is sent somewhere. Maybe it's for cap relief for the Warriors, so that way they can get Giannis's agreement or contract. But I think that's the only way it works. But to be truthful, like, they just traded away to get Jimmy Butler, and if I'm not mistaken, Jonathan Kuminga is really their only other like asset of a player who they can dangle to maybe get something. And I don't even know if he has really a trade market with how he's been used in Golden State. So that's why they're on my long shot list. Like, there's a lot of hoops that Golden State would have to run through to get Giannis, and I just don't know how likely that is. But my realistic one, and I was volleying between San Antonio, which I'm kind of in the same camp as you. I don't know how that works, because you have Victor Wembanyama, who obviously they just traded for De'Aaron Fox. They have Castle, who is the rookie of the year. I just don't know if it works. I'm sure he would be a great piece. You may have to give up some other assets and maybe one of your first round picks that are both in the top 10 in terms of the lottery.
Yeah.
So
I think Castle and Fox would definitely be in the trade discussion.
Or one of the two, and you just got Fox. So I don't know even if you would. Castle's probably more likely to get on the block. You know,
that's tough. I honestly, if I'm the other team, I'm saying you got to give me both. If you're gonna have Victor Wembanyama and Giannis, you got to give me Fox and Castle. That would be my argument.
I think Castle would be involved in the deal before De'Aaron Fox, only because they acquired Fox. They drafted Castle, and Castle may have a great name, have a great trade value right now because he just won Rookie of the Year, and he obviously he was a scoring machine. So you give him to Milwaukee, for example. Maybe they can start adding some other pieces around that, and now you got something to build around. Whereas, if you give him De'Aaron Fox is already kind of, I wouldn't say past his prime, but he's not as young as Castle to where you can build around for a longer period of time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But my realistic one, though, so not San Antonio, but I actually think the Minnesota Timberwolves would be a realistic one because you got to want a guy that's going to pair next to Anthony Edwards. I don't know if I believe in Julius Randle as like a true number 2. And honestly, Rudy Gobert is kind of the odd man out in this equation. So I can see a package with like Rudy Gobert, Naz Reid, maybe a couple of other role players and some draft picks. And I think the Minnesota Timberwolves, because they got all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals, might be in the market to make a big trade to be like a win now mode. And so, and I bring that up to say Minnesota, I think, is either going to acquire KD or Giannis this offseason. I think one of those two players, because now that Minnesota has gotten, I think, 2 years in a row at the Eastern Conference Finals, they're going to want something that's going to get them over the top. So what do you do to get them over the top? You give somebody who has a championship pedigree to Anthony Edwards. So that way he's obviously the guy, but you have another player that he plays next to that could really like give him that edge to get over the hump to get into the championship realm. So long shot, like I said, Golden State. My hope would be the Lakers, but realistically, I think Minnesota Timberwolves really fits into acquiring Giannis, and I think he'd work really well on that team, especially if you include Rudy Gobert in the deal, so that way you don't have, the Eiffel Tower there, and you can get somebody that's a little bit more athletic. So that's what I would say.
I think that you bring up a really, really good point. I don't think you fully. I think you deserve a little credit for that because I think that makes a lot of sense. Rudy Gobert has been, since he's gotten to Minnesota, has been criticized for not being a scorer, for being as tall as he is, for being as dominant inside as he is. He doesn't score a lot. And so who's a guy who can dominate inside and still have a really high level of defense? Well, that's Giannis.
Yeah.
And so I think that would be an extremely good fit. If you had to get rid of Julius Randle, Rudy Gobert, and some picks, maybe Naz Reid. I don't even think you have to add Naz Reid in that, honestly. I think if you had Randle and Gobert and then, a few extra picks here and there, I think that actually fits extremely well for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And I think that works with Anthony Edwards' game. And when Anthony Edwards isn't being consistent like I was talking about, you throw Giannis there. Giannis is one of the more consistent players in the league. So that's a really good point by you.
Thank you. Jason here, Dark Horse, he's saying Giannis to Memphis with Ja and some pieces. Ooh, that'd actually be interesting. It's not terrible, but I wonder if Memphis would find a way to keep Giannis or to keep Ja and add Giannis and pair them. And maybe you often offer Jaren Jackson Jr., maybe Desmond Bane, because I think Memphis likes the athletic ability of Ja with Giannis more than, let's say, Giannis and Jaren Jackson together. You know what I mean? Like they're almost like they're two big men. You kind of need you kind of need like a facilitator, like what a Ja could be with a Giannis. Yeah. I think that's how it would work. So, I mean, Ja going to Milwaukee, that might be interesting.
You could make the argument, you mean Memphis, or you said Ja to Milwaukee. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Giannis. I was like, but you could make the argument of Desmond Bane could be the primary ball handler. I mean, he was doing it when Ja was hurt, and they actually did really well. So you could make that argument too.
Yeah. And then Jason here, he's commenting on the KD remark where he says he's going back to OKC, especially if they win a chip. He's on the move. I don't know if KD is going to go ring chasing like that, but that would be funny.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't see. I think it's more likely he would go to Minnesota first because he likes Anthony Edwards, because Anthony Edwards like worshiped KD when he was younger. So I'm sure KD would like to go there first.
Yeah. All right. I got a follow-up question to this Giannis one. So if Giannis and Katie are on the move this offseason and they land on a new team, no, hold on. Let me finish.
No.
If they both land on a new team,
they both land on the Lakers.
Yes, for nothing. Who makes the
Where's
bigger
Nico Harrison when you need
him? Nico, can we do a deal? Do you know these guys? So if Katie and Giannis are are acquired by two separate teams, who has the bigger impact between the two on their new team?
Giannis is going to have the bigger impact because I think KD is a great player. I don't want to take anything away, but Giannis I think would be so motivated going to a new team and being like, all right, I got to put everything together here. Like I moved away from Milwaukee, a place that I loved, so I could be here to win a championship. I think he would be absolutely motivated. If he does leave Milwaukee, I would be willing to bet. I would be willing to put some money on Giannis being MVP that year.
Oh wow, that's a good one. And then Jason, so this will be the last comment, and then we're going to move on to baseball. But Jason here, KD short-term scoring machine, which I agree, which is why I think KD on the move makes sense for a lot of teams looking for a scorer and maybe to get in championship shape. But
Lakers.
Yeah. But Drew, to your point with Giannis long-term stability is what he said, which is basically what you're saying is, he would go somewhere, be on a mission, and then stick around for a lot longer. So
Jason, I think it's more likely that KD could go to the Knicks before Giannis does.
I've been saying this to him almost every time I see him. I think KD to the Knicks makes too much sense. And they kind of need a KD-like player. And he hates that every time, but you just wait until it happens.
But KD does play some defense too. So I think he would fit with Tibbs quite well. I think so too. You're underselling it, Jason.
There we go. All right.
I got to have my boys back.
Let's move on to some baseball, Drew. Obviously, this is your favorite sport, and I've been waiting for you to deliver your Power 5. So why don't you kick off your power rankings, your top 7, and then give us a little reasoning why you have them ranked the way that you do.
Okay, so I have the top 7 here. Number 1 team for me right now is the Philadelphia Phillies. I don't think this is really a surprise for most people. The Phillies are playing out of their mind. Basically where they left off last year. Last year, it seemed like they started getting ahead of steam towards the second half of the year. And Kyle Schwarber is hitting. Honestly, I think Kyle Schwarber is hitting the best he's hit in his career. I think he's been way more consistent at the plate. His eye at the plate has been way better. Bryce Harper, star first baseman. Never thought I'd say that. I always knew him as an outfielder. Nick Castellanos gets lost in this team, but he's not crushing a ton of home runs this year, but I think he's at like 2. Should have looked this up before I spoke, but I think he's about like 280, maybe 270. So he's hitting very consistent, doing a great job. Honestly, JT Realmuto has been kind of a letdown for them, but he's still pretty solid behind the plate. So, and then their starting rotation has been really good too. So, the Phillies number 1 team right now for me. My number 2 team is the Detroit Tigers. So I got to watch them firsthand because they played the Giants, swept the Giants. And I'm just kind of surprised at everyone was like, oh, the Tigers, they are putting the Tigers as like a surprise team. And I'm like, do you not remember Tarek Skubal last year? Do you not remember Riley Green starting to like put on a show and this team all of a sudden got in the playoffs? Like, to me, they're not a big surprise. They're actually who I thought they were going to be, but they've actually been better than I thought they were going to be. Skubal actually kind of started off, I don't want to say rough, but not as like dominant as he did last year. But his last start, he just pitched a shutout, complete game shutout. So I really like Detroit, and I see Shovik Sports saying Detroit over Phillies. Right now, I would say no, just because I trust the Phillies overall team more than the Tigers. You have experience. I trust the bats more in Philly. over the Tigers. So that's why I have Phillies at number 1. The number 3 team for me is the Los Angeles Dodgers. I don't think I need an explanation, but the Dodgers are struggling with injuries right now. And as a Giants fan, thank God. But anyway, I really like that the Dodgers are just like, they're hurt and then they throw in another guy and all of a sudden it works out for them. Like, it's just like, it pisses me off. But anyway, you gotta,
Dodgers.
Yeah, you gotta give credit where credit's due. The Dodgers are overcoming a lot of injuries, and man, are they going to be scary in August and September, and probably October as well. And then at my number 4 team, I got to put the New York Yankees. The starting rotation has been actually a big surprise for me. I know a lot of people believed in Max Fried right away, Carlos Rodon, Garrett Cole before he got hurt, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought actually he was going to struggle. I thought that Rodon was going to have somewhat some issues, and I thought Max Fried was going to be a little bit rough as well. But what they have done is Rodon, I believe, is at least in fantasy terms, is the number 1 pitcher right now, which is crazy. So I really like this Yankees team, but again, if I'm going off of similar records or very very close in record, I still trust the Dodgers over the Yankees because the Yankees did have a 5-0 lead in the World Series, Jason, and then they blew it. So yeah, I'm going to put the Dodgers over the Yankees until they can prove me otherwise.
Also, too, his wife is a Dodger fan, so for not having to be sent outside, he has to put the Dodgers.
She's listening very closely. Yes. She's listening very intently right now.
Drew, blink twice if you need help.
It's nothing but blue in this house right now. Anyway, so my number 5 team, I have the Chicago Cubs. They've been a really good team. This is a team that I thought was going to be really good, and they have been. Them going after Kyle Tucker, a lot of people are like, what? But they haven't needed Kyle Tucker to be like this all-star player, which he has been. But they haven't needed it because Pete Crow Armstrong has been fantastic for them. It seems like all their players who last year kind of like struggled in the middle of the year or struggled towards the end, it seems like they've really got something going and really clicked. And so I'm very happy to see this Cubs team be as good as they have been. And I'm interested to see if they can continue this, because right now they're actually a real fun team. They're an old school team. They have the pitching. I think their bullpen needs to be beefed up a little bit, but they have power hitters and they have some really fast runners. It's an old school type of team, and the Chicago Cubs, they're fun to watch.
Mm-hmm.
My number 6 team is the New York Mets. With all the turmoil and all the talk that they have on Juan Soto, they're still a really good team. Francisco Lindor is still playing fantastic. This team, I think they should be better, if I'm being perfectly honest. I feel like.
Do you think that's because Juan Soto isn't living up to his 15-year deal or whatever?
Well, he's got 15. He's got 15 years to figure it out, guys.
I mean, he might pull a Javier Baez where he just all of a sudden just forgets how to play baseball.
No, I think Juan Soto is too good for that. I think he's got a lot of pressure on him. To be honest, if he starts getting on a hot streak like suddenly, I think you're going to have to test him for PEDs, if I'm being perfectly honest. He's always been known as a guy who's got a great eye at the plate. And so I think what's hard is like he's only hitting like 220, I want to say 227 on the year right now. And I think a lot of that hurts a lot of people, but he's always been known for, he hits early in the lineup. He's usually like the number 2 hitter or number 3 hitter or sometimes even 1. And he's a guy who walks a lot. And if he's not walking, obviously he's having more at bats than other guys. So, and he's a guy who's going to go 1 for 4 or 1 for 3 or whatever with a walk or 2 walks or whatever. So it's hard for him to get his batting average up, but he will eventually bring it up. And he's got a lot of power still. He hasn't lost it. I think he does have a lot of pressure. He's got a lot on his mind, and he'll figure it out. I do believe he will. But the Mets, I'm not in love with all of their starting pitchers and definitely their bullpen. So I think that's what they're going to need to really fix. And I'm curious of what they're going to do next year with Pete Alonso, which I think we're going to talk about later on anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So that'll be kind of curious to see because I don't think they're going to be able to be paying Lindor, Soto with his 15-year contract, and also Pete Alonso. And if they do, they're going to really have to hope that their draft skills or they can find a diamond in the rough in the pitching category. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. But Mets, my number 6 team, and the number 7 team, I have the San Diego Padres. The Padres are, with Dylan Cease, he hasn't been fantastic. He hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been great right now. And I really think that the Padres are actually playing better this year than they were last year, but there still is turmoil. So I'm a little scared for the Padres, but right now they're still doing a great job of getting the wins when they need it. Machado hasn't been hitting as well. Fernando Tatis is still doing Tatis things. And like Jackson Merrill, good God. I mean, the guy is hitting, I think, 340 right now.
Yeah.
I know he was hurt, but still, like, good God.
He's on my fantasy team. He is absolutely still raking, even if the Padres
What do you want
well.
for him?
You can't afford him.
I can, actually. I can afford him. We're going to talk about this later, Cody.
I know. You've been negotiating a trade with me for 2 weeks.
Yes. You've denied all of them. No, but so I have one more time. I have Phillies at 1, Tigers 2, Dodgers 3, Yankees 4, Cubs 5, Mets 6, and Padres 7.
Yeah, I'm wondering if you had a top 8 if the Giants would have snuck in, because I mean they've been playing really well this season.
No, I would have put the Cardinals over them, because after they got swept by the Tigers and with no offense at all, that's really worrisome, because that was the issue going into this year, is like, where's the offense still going to come from? Are we literally just relying on Willy Adames to be our offense and that's it? And right now it's been Wilmer Flores. So,
which is crazy because he's only hitting like 242 or something like that. Not even hitting that well.
Will the Rockies win 15 games? That's mean. That's
the
mean.
Best comment I've ever seen. No,
but we're not sure.
It's
unfortunately we are not
No.
sure.
Why? I'm curious. Why are the Rockies so terrible? Like, they're worse than the White Sox
because they
year.
signed Chris Bryant to a huge contract.
That's the reason that they suck so bad.
No, they should have re-signed a lot of their like they should have re-signed Trevor Story, which right now it's looking like it still was okay. But
I don't know, because Boston has significantly more wins than the Rockies right now.
See, Chris Bryant. See, I'm telling you. Honestly, that's what started it, is the Chris Bryant signing. That was really a killer.
That's where the wheels fell off, I guess.
Yeah, but they don't focus on pitching, and it's hard to get pictures over there because it is such a hitter-friendly ballpark. Like, pitchers don't want their numbers to go up when they're in Colorado, so they have to rely on a lot of young arms, and if they don't get it, it's tough. And Arenado would have been another one that they should have held on. They should have held on to Nolan Arenado. They held on to Charlie Blackmon way too long. Yeah. They should have held on to Trevor Story, and imagine Ezekiel Tovar with all of those guys. They would be a solid team if they kept all those guys, and then they wouldn't have to worry about Chris Bryant. But this is the bid they made.
Yeah. All right. So you were just talking about how the Giants really their offense has kind of gone up and down, which is why, even in the series with Detroit, it didn't go so well. So I want to know, Drew, so what do the Giants need to do to get more consistent at bats to where they're able to keep up with some of these, these back and forths and put some runs up? So what do you think the Giants should do? And do you have any free agents that the Giants should target to really solve this problem?
Free agents right now, one that I think they should have done a while ago is go after JD Martinez. I know he's old. I know he's only a DH, but right now we need a guy who can hit. Not just for power. Yes, Martinez can hit for power, but he is a guy who does hit, consistently over 270 every year. And so he's a guy that would really help you RBI wise. He's a guy who would help you getting on base. And he's not going to ground into double plays a ton. And I think he would obviously be a scary bat in the lineup. And the way that Wilmer Flores is hitting as well, that could really bolster that offense. And then that could really encourage Willy Adames to start hitting. I'm not too concerned about Adames. This is kind of what I was worried about us signing him, is he's not really a good batting average guy. He's more of an energy type guy, which I like. I like him a lot. But we're going to need more bats. Like Willy Adames is not the answer.
Right.
And this is what I wanted in the beginning. Like, I feel like I was on here quite a bit before school started, where I was like, the Giants need a bat. Willy Adames is nice. That's great. Go after Pete Alonso. I remember saying all of that. So, they just need bats. And unfortunately, a lot of the available bats, like Brandon Lowe would be a good one. I think he's someone that they could is a trade possibility for the Giants this year. Cedric Mullins might be a good one.
Yeah.
The Orioles are, I don't know what happened to them.
They're free falling right now.
Yeah, Alex Bregman or even Trevor Story from Boston. I think those would be interesting. Because right now Boston is kind of struggling. I think they're going to get out of that funk, but I think Trevor Story specifically would be really interesting because you could buy him low, and potentially if he does what you need him to do, you could sell on him high, or you could keep him. And he plays second base, which we need desperately right now. Yeah. So, I think that would be one. Or even Bo Bichette. Like, I know Bo Bichette is not this, like, all-time power guy, but I think he would actually benefit being with the Giants. I think he would actually have a better career. And I know that's hard to understand, but in Toronto, he's more focused on like, oh, he was this top prospect, and everyone expected him to be a 25 to 30 home run guy, and he's going to be this top of the lineup bat, RBI type guy. But he's a really good defender, and I think if he just focused and came to the Giants, I think the Giants would really help him out with batting average, and I think that's where he would actually be best at, is worrying about just getting on base instead of, hey, we need you to crank this home run, we need you to get this RBI. Like, just get on base, dude. That's all we need you to do. And I think he would actually thrive in San Francisco. And I think right now with Toronto buying or giving the big contract to Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I think that's more likely that they're going to go off of Bo Bichette, and it kind of seems like they're going to sell really low on Bo Bichette. So those are the two that I really am very interested in. I know a lot of people like Brandon Lowe, but again, you come to San Francisco, it's a lot harder to hit for power, whereas you get a guy like Trevor Story who is known as a power guy, but he does have speed, and he's a decent defender. He's not great. And then you have Bo Bichette, who, listen, you don't have to hit home runs here, man. Don't worry about it. Just get on base. I think he would really work well with Willy Adames. I think Willy Adames is a guy who a lot of people gravitate to. I mean, you look at the way the clubhouse changed immediately in these games that Willy Adames is just like he's best friends with everyone. And so I think it would really help a player like Bo Bichette. So my hope is that we go after like a Bichette or a Trevor Story. I'd be okay with that because you're not going to have to give away the whole farm system, and you can maintain a lot of what you want to keep. I know a lot of Giants fans want to get a first baseman, but my issue is we have Bryce Eldridge coming up in the ranks very quickly, and he's hitting really well in Double-A, and he'll probably move up to Triple-A sometime this year, and possibly the majors. I doubt the majors this year, but I do think it is somewhat of a possibility. But that would be interesting. Or you could go after an outfielder who you could also use as a DH, such as someone like a Cedric Mullins, as I mentioned, or Tyler O'Neill. I think those would be pretty decent fits for the Giants. But yeah, I think second base is someone that you need to focus on. And if you go after Trevor Story and Bo Bichette, you're adding to the lineup with a bat, but also with some defense and energetic type guys on your team.
Yeah. And then Shovik Sports here saying George Springer would be a good fit. Yeah. Honestly, right now, with exactly what you said, with what the Giants need is they really need to get quality at bats to where they're getting guys that are going to get on base. Maybe they're going to get walked. Maybe they're going to be able to knock in a run or two, because what's been difficult is in the Giants organization since Barry Bonds, we really don't even have a power hitter. And Matt Chapman maybe is like a power, but he's really only hitting 220 right now. So it's really not that much. You were just saying,
when you talk about Matt Chapman like that.
I mean, he's great. I was advocating that we extend him, and we did.
Yeah,
but I mean, he's only hitting 220 right now. And then, you were just saying Willy Adames, he is barely at 208 right now, and so we've just got a lot of we have good contact, but
receivers now.
Yeah, I think some players. One you pointed out that I was going to bring up, which was, Tyler O'Neill. I think he would be a really good fit in the outfield. Luis Robert Jr.? Is that how you?
Yeah, I think it's Luis Robert Jr.
Robert Jr. I think he would be good for the outfield.
His batting average. With his batting average.
Listen,
I'm gonna call him whatever I want to call him.
Yeah. I mean, he'd be a really good DH. We don't have to have him play in the outfield or anything. And, who knows, at least just put a little juice in the lineup. I think also a couple of first basemen that come to mind. Ty Francis would be an interesting addition because I feel like he would be able to contribute to the lineup. Your favorite guy, Rhys Hoskins, would be a really good guy as well.
I love Rhys Hoskins, but I don't think he would want to go to San Francisco, unfortunately.
I think Josh Naylor would be a pretty good option as well, as he's young, he's fast, and Pete Alonso, I think he's going to end up staying with the Mets ultimately. I don't think he's actually going to leave. I know he's on like a 1-year deal or whatever, but I think he's going to end up re-signing there anyways. So the only other player that I would actually want the Giants to go for, well, two other players. One, I like the Trevor Story one. I like the fact that he can be versatile with shortstop and second. But another one too is Cedric Mullins. Cedric Mullins, to me, with his ability to steal bases, is really a nice little piece that you can add there. So even if he is able to take walks, get on first base, maybe even not, get a hit to get on first base, he's going to be able to get to the next base and steal because, he is a specialist at that. And, he does go through phases where he gets cold a lot. So you're going to have to put him in and out of the lineup quite a bit. But I do think that there will be moments where you can count on him in the, towards the latter part of a game, like, the 6th to the 8th inning, you can get him to knock in a run or maybe give it on base and see where the magic can happen. I think that would be an interesting addition. And also too, who knows what other Baltimore player might also be, on the trade docket, just because Baltimore right now is free falling and, they're not doing so well. Oh, and another one, an honorable mention I'll put out there, Josh Bell, I think would be an interesting one as well.
I just don't like Bell because no, Cody, I was going to tell you not to put that one up. I don't want to see that. I'm not. Byron Buxton, by all means, should be a 20-25 guy. 25 home runs, 25 stolen bases. But the guy cannot play for 2 weeks straight. He is constantly hurt. I do not want him. I'm sorry. It would be a great fit if he played more than 100 games in the major league season, but he never does. It would be great if he played more than 60 games in the major league baseball season, but he never does.
Nothing more heartbreaking than when you have him on your fantasy.
He'll hurt something.
Yeah,
he'll pull a muscle or something.
Nothing's worse than having him in your baseball lineup for fantasy, and then he gets on a heater for that week that you won. Like that whole week, he dominated. Following week into your next matchup, he's out for 2 weeks on the 15-day.
I was telling you he was actually killing it, and I knew he was going to get hurt. And sure enough, him and Carlos Correa collide, and he gets a concussion. And they were like, "Oh, it's only a 7-day IL," and he's still on it. And Correa came back like 2 days later, and I'm like, "Dude, this guy's out for the year, guaranteed."
And then you tried offering him to me in a trade. I can't believe you would do that. Gosh, what
I mean, he does have value.
Oh my gosh, now you're just. And then Tim with Answer the Call.
Take someone,
podcast.
Cody. Just take
What's up,
someone.
Tim? All right, guys, we're gonna move on to the last segment of the show. That was the baseball one, and I know I was excited to talk about that because Drew's the baseball aficionado, and I always love hearing him talk ball. So it was great. So we're gonna move on to the Raiders now, and I've got some of the co-hosts from the AFC West War Room are probably in the comments right now, so this might get very interesting. But Drew, you and I really haven't been on Drew Code to really talk about the Raiders draft and all that other stuff. So, from what you are up to speed with, obviously we've had from what analysts and experts are saying is the Raiders had a really good draft by getting a lot of depth in receiver and obviously on the defensive side of the ball. The most popular one is Ashton Genty, of course. So with what as far as the rookie class that we've brought in, what rookie are you most excited to see in this upcoming season?
Well, of course, yeah. Obviously, Ashton Genty, I mean, it would be Genty. I'm not going to lie to you. Genty or Hampton. Listen, Genty was the main back for his team. Hampton was still kind of trading. No, he was pretty good. But I'd still give the edge to Genty on that one. Also, I'm also kind of hoping that it's Genty because if we're wrong, I'm going to be so pissed.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, I'm excited for Ashton Genty for sure. Obviously the dude is a freaking tank. And that's really, listen, he's very Marshawn Lynch-esque. He's got that ability. And I think that's why Pete Carroll, from the start when he got here, was like, it's going to be Ashton Genty. And I feel like, I just feel like a lot of people thought, maybe the Raiders are going to go this route. And I think Pete Carroll got into everyone's ear, obviously John Spytek as well, and was like, listen, let's not make this complicated. If the dude looks like a beast in college, the way he ran the football, the way he basically carried the load for Boise State coming in, it's a no-brainer. Like you gotta pick this guy. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But I mean, how could you not know that this guy is not going to be good? Like, you would never know that until you actually see him play. So I'm really excited about Ashton Genty, but it's someone that I think has kind of thrown, I don't want to say flown under the radar, because I do see his name a lot, but I'll say it anyway. I like Deontay Thornton Jr., receiver out of Tennessee. This dude is a big, tall. I think he's 6'4", I believe is his height.
And I think he wants a 4.3.
Yeah, this guy he's someone I'm very excited about. If he loses that 4.3 speed and bulks up, I wouldn't be upset at all. I feel like Jacoby Myers is a good receiver speed wise. I don't think we need any more. And then you have like Brock Bowers, who's probably one of the fastest tight ends in the game right now. And then you add Deontay Thornton Jr., where, hey, just go up and get it. I think that's a really, really good pick that the Raiders got. And so, I fully believe he's going to be a good receiver. I don't know if I would go fantasy. I mean, he would have to be in the later rounds because we don't know what he's going to be on the depth chart right now. But if I were to guess, if it were me, I think he's going to be the number 2 wide receiver. Obviously, Brock Bowers is going to get all of the catches. Jacoby Myers is going to be a go-to guy, but Thornton Jr. I think could be really, really good. And when you're in the red zone, which is where we really, really, really struggled this year, and you just throw up a 50-50 ball, he's going to be coming down with it more than 50%. So,
yeah. I think Thornton in a dynasty league would be a good stasher. And then also Jack Betch, who was our second round receiver that we picked up. He's got a lot of upside. And according to camp reports, he's looking like he's going to be a legit number 2 option, maybe even a lot of number 1 option looks. So, moving on to my favorite question that I love to ask you every time, Drew. And maybe this is a little bit premature, but as of today, following the draft and what we know from the offseason, signings and obviously trading for Geno Smith, what are your expectations for the Raiders for this upcoming year?
Okay, so I was right last year. I said, be lucky.
Take the under. I know. I hate that you were right.
6 wins.
Yes, I
under on
this.
the 6 wins. Yeah, Andrew was right. Anyway, I think it's a possibility. I would say low end is 7 and 7 and 9 now? No, it'd be 7 and 10.
7 and 10. Yeah.
Or 8 and 9, I think are realistic. I could see them maybe getting to 9 and 8, but I'm still. I like Geno Smith. He's a better quarterback than what we have, so I'm not saying anything about that. But I don't believe in Geno Smith as much as some of these Raider fans are.
You mean like me?
Geno Smith. Yes, like you.
Dude.
I don't know. I like Geno Smith. I'm still not sold on him, if I'm being 100% honest.
Well,
I'm not
really rude, Tim. He said, I'm just kidding. Okay, great.
I'm just not entirely sold on him yet. I think he'll fit well. And then having Ashton Genty and this receiving core is going to be really good. But one thing that I really don't like that the Raiders didn't do, this kind of goes into a little bit of your next question, is defensively, we lost a lot defensively, and we didn't really gain much back.
Yeah.
So I'm really still worried about defense. I feel like our defensive line is pretty solid. Our linebackers,
not so much.
I still don't feel great. Yeah. And then safeties, and we just had a lot of corners come off of injury. So, I think we lost Nate Hobbs, if I'm not mistaken, didn't we?
We did. I think Nate Hobbs went to
the Colts.
Patriots.
Oh, Patriots.
You might be right. I thought he went to the Patriots, but I could be wrong.
Yeah. So
I'll double check.
He was a big part of our defense as well. So I'm really nervous about our pass defense. I'm really nervous about that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. Well, okay. So I'll go back. So my actually rookie that I'm looking forward to, and then I'll keep going from this, would be Darian Porter. I like that we got a big-bodied cornerback because just like what you said, we lost Nate Hobbs, which was arguably our best cornerback last year. We had a lot of injuries, and Darian Porter from Iowa State is a former receiver turned cornerback, 6'4". He's tall, so I think he'll work well with that defense. But I do actually want to give a little bit more credit to the defense than I'm sure what the expectation is for a lot. And the reason why is because we are getting back some really good pass rushing help. Like Max Crosby is going to be back. Malcolm Kuntz is going to be back because he was out all of last year. Tyree Wilson, this is kind of like a prove it year. So he's really going to have to show us if he's even worth the first round pick that we spent on him. I think it was 2 seasons ago. So this is going to be an interesting one. But I think with bringing back this team with Patrick Graham and then having a coach like Pete Carroll that was a defensive specialist, I really think that will bolster the defense. Linebacking core is for sure the weakest part. The fact that we signed Devin White and also Jalen Smith. And then those are basically competing for roster spots, really concerns my depth. And then we drafted 2 rookie linebackers in this past draft. So I'm not excited about our depth. Like, we're really shooting for hidden gems on this one. So we'll see. But I think realistic expectations for the Raiders, and I think a lot of it is because of Pete Carroll coming in my opinion. And I'm not trying to say that Geno Smith is like, on the level of Patrick Mahomes. I'm not trying to say that he's a franchise guy, but I do think that like he is an elevated quarterback that I think is going to be able to win us games. Whereas like last season, when we didn't have a quarterback that was able to get the ball down the field or make smart decisions, I feel like if we had a quarterback in the Geno realm-esque, we might have walked away from more of those games than we lost. So with bringing in Geno Smith and him being a very accurate quarterback, with having a much improved offensive line, I think the defense is going to be better than it was last year. But again, like with the linebacking core that we talked about, I actually think that the Raiders are looking at like a 9-8. And I would even say, and I've said this on the War Room, and I said this on another show, I'm looking at them to have like a 10-7 record and probably push for a wild card. I think that the culture is changing in the Raiders organization. I feel like Max Crosby is coming in. Don't shake your head at me, Drew. I feel like the Raiders are coming in with a little bit more energy. I need another Raider fan to buy in with me, dude. You're killing me right now. But anyways, I just feel like the Raiders are making a lot of good moves that I'm excited for. And I think that we're going to see a different football team, at least is what I'm emphatically hoping for.
You mean you want someone delusional with you? That's what you mean.
Yes, be delusional with me.
You're right. You're right that the culture has changed. There's no question about that. I fully believe in this culture. But you also have to have the guys to do it. And specifically defensively, it's not, to me, it's not promising. And I don't think Geno Smith is a quarterback who's going to overcome those issues. I think there's going to be some games that he could, but I don't think I really don't think a playoff is in the Raiders' future this year.
Well, okay, first off, it would probably be more closer to a wild card. But look, you were already saying baseline somewhere between 7-10, 8-9. You were almost even able to talk yourself into a 9-8. So I'm only one game ahead of you in terms of like a 10-7 record. And 10-7 got the Broncos into the wild card last year. It also got, if I'm not mistaken, it wasn't the Bengals, it was the Steelers got in with a 7-10 record. So 7-10 in the AFC might get us in to a wild card spot. I'm just saying, like, I like the moves that we did. It sounds like you're agreeing that the football team will look improved. You're not buying into the hype that I am. So I'll guess I'll be the lone soldier on this one. But I just think with what the Raiders have done, I'm encouraged. I do need to see what we do, though, in training camp, what we do after roster cuts, because who knows, maybe some of the players that we've signed in free agency don't even make the roster. We'll see. This team's not going to be complete until, obviously, kickoff day. So we'll see what happens. But I think that leave the Broncos out of that's funny. Thanks, Corey. But I do think that the Raiders have a pretty good shot at fighting for at least a wild card. I mean, I won't say that they'll for sure get it, but I think that they'll be one of those AFC West teams or one of the AFC teams that are going to surprise people and might get a wild card spot. And this is probably Corey because of course he's a Broncos fan.
Cody, you need to stay off of Raider Twitter every now and then. Like I
don't
really
even go on Twitter. I don't go on Raider Twitter, dude. All right, so
you're on it constantly. That's what it sounds like.
I'm not. I haven't even logged in today. All right, so you kind of pretty much talked about it, but and we kind of grazed over it, so we'll kind of close the show on this a little bit. But with the draft, free agency, what are you hoping that the Raiders accomplish, or what do you wish that they would have done a better job at addressing?
Yeah, defense, secondary. I mean, I know they drafted, I believe it was Darian Porter from Iowa State, who I think is a good corner, but it's not going to fix your whole defense. I think it helps for sure. I think it was a good pick. I think he's going to be a good player. Do I think he's going to be Nate Hobbs? I don't know. And that's why I'm a little worried about it. I didn't see too much of Darian Porter to really make an educated guess of how he's going to do, but defense, specifically secondary and more linebacker, would have been really nice. Either one, to be honest. I tend to lean more towards secondary versus linebacker. That would have been, someone. I mean, I know they got Cody Littenberg from Minnesota, the linebacker, but he's a 7th round guy. I don't know how many snaps he's really going to get, but I just would have liked that
linebacking. He might make the team. That linebacking room is a bit thin, so
yeah, that's true. They were probably like, let's just get someone who can start. And so I just wish they would have went after a little bit more defensive guys. Like, I felt like we went after receiver a little too much.
Yeah,
like they were like, receiver. Oh, look it, there's another receiver. Let's get him. Oh, look, another receiver. Let's get him. We don't have any other holes. Yes, you do. You have plenty of holes.
You didn't like the two. You didn't like the two offensive line picks back to back. I think it was in the 5th round.
You know what? I don't mind those. The offensive line, I'd rather you draft multiple offensive line guys and like defensive line guys than anything else. But like how many picks do we have on receiver? I think we had 3.
We got Besh,
1,
Thornton
2,
Jr.,
3.
Mallet.
Yeah, we had 3. And then Cam Miller, I don't know if he's going to be quarterback or receiver as well.
I think he's like a quarterback project. Yeah. I think they're trying. I from what Tom Brady said in a podcast, he really likes Cam Miller. I don't know what that means. I mean, he's drafted in the 6th round, but so is Tom Brady. I don't know if that means anything, but Tom Brady's a fan of him. We'll see what that looks like.
Look at you're on Raider Twitter again, Cody. Cam Miller, he's 6th round. Also comparison to Tom Brady.
I mean, that's legit facts.
You're hyping yourself up. You're hyping yourself up.
I guess I have to. If you don't toot your own horn, there's
no
never
one else
music.
is gonna do it. Yeah,
that's right. All right, guys. So I think that's pretty much it, Drew. Do you have anything else on the Raiders topic that you wanted to touch on?
I don't know, Nadia. You got anything on the Raiders? Oh, okay.
No. Okay, great.
She was like, please don't make me do that.
Yeah. All right, guys.
No, I got nothing on the Raiders. I think it was a good draft. Don't get me wrong. I think they got a lot of good players and a lot of good guys who are going to be like depth players, stuff like that. So I think we're going to be a fairly deep team in like offensive line, which is kind of what we were thin at last year. So that's good. We solved receiver, we solved running back. So I like that, but everything else I'm kind of like, okay, we're going to have to get better at. So
yeah, we need safety and linebacker help. So maybe we'll see what other teams' camps look like. Maybe we'll see if we sign anybody to camp. Who knows? But
yeah, is Shiloh Sanders still available, or did he get signed?
He got signed to Tampa, and actually, it looks like he was doing pretty well in Tampa, so he's off the board. I know.
What about Dion? Does he want to come out and retire?
I think he only has 8 toes. I don't know if that's possible because he's missing.
8 toes is better than none. So
yes. All right, we're gonna end the show on that. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to Drew. Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in to Drew Code Sports Talk, guys. Subscribe to the YouTube channel where you guys are watching. If you guys are listening to the audio platform on Spotify, Apple, iHeart, go ahead and hit the follow button on that as well. And on social media, you can find us on Facebook, X. Well, not really on X anymore, but find us on Instagram, find us on TikTok, YouTube, as I just mentioned. So find all that, links in the description below. Our partners at the banner that's been playing over there, go to StreamYard, get a discount to get started on podcasting, go to SeatGeek to get a discount code. All that's in the description. It's a lot to say, so I'll spare everybody. Just read the description. I remember doing it. Yeah, just read the description below. But Drew, man, it was so nice to be able to do an episode back like the old days. Hopefully we can keep this going through the summer. But yes. But on to next week, man. So I appreciate you. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be kind to one another, and we will catch you guys on the next episode. So we'll see you.
Adios.